Hello there, it's Cassie. Welcome back once again to my YouTube channel. Today I have a card for the Brutus Monroe blog. Wednesday is kind of my day to do that. And so I'm actually going to use the same stamp set that I used on my previous video just to show you that there's another way to use this. This stamp set is called Birthday Bear, and I am lining it up on some Express It cardstock, and I'm putting that into my MISTI because I plan to stamp this out and color it using some alcohol markers. I am inking this up with some Raven Detail ink because that is alcohol marker friendly. And I'll just ink that up one more time and stamp that down. I'm really quite in love with these little images. They are so cute, which is why I wanted to use it once again. I'm going to color my bears a little differently. Now, on my first video, I used some aqua pigments, which is basically doing watercoloring. But in this case, I'm doing some alcohol marker coloring, and I wanted to color these bears more like polar bears. So I've got two bears and a bunny, and I'm putting the colors up on the screen. These are the Arteza EverBlend alcohol markers, and I've been kind of playing around with these since I got them, and just kind of trying to test them out and see how I like them, and I actually like them quite nicely. I wish, I've said this a billion times, that I had the bigger set because I feel like that would give me a little bit more options for blending because I love to blend. But in this case, it's okay. I'm just working with what I have, and sometimes it's fun to work with the limited supplies just because it kind of stretches you just that much more. If you notice, I have left a lot of white space with my little polar bears. I did that on purpose because polar bears are typically a little bit more white, but it's a challenge. I don't know if you do any sort of alcohol marker coloring, but sometimes it can be quite a challenge to leave any white space at all. And in this case, I left quite a bit in the center of each of my bears. And I'm happy that I've done that. I like the way that looks because, it gives that much more. It looks like he has three colors rather than just the two that I used. Moving on to the little rabbit, I'm using, as you can see, the colors up on the screen. And not that I thought that these actually went together, but that's kind of the fun of alcohol marker blending, is you can kind of see what you can get to work and what you can't get to work. And I thought that worked out okay. Now the rest of my images on here, these are small images to color, so I don't do any other shading or anything like that. I am just using one color for the rest of what I'm coloring. And I do use some patterned paper. Now the blue isn't in the patterned papers at all, but I thought the blue would be just a nice touch compared to the patterned papers that I do decide to use. And I use a little pink on his ear, and then we're going to fussy cut these little guys out. There isn't a matching die, but I don't mind. I don't mind fussy cutting. I'm just kind of leaving a little bit of a white border, and I move the image rather than the scissors, as you can tell. So they're really easy to cut out. This is the pattern paper I've chosen. This comes from the Fresh Melon paper from Brutus Monroe. I love this paper. The patterns are beautiful, and it doesn't just have to be, that you're using it for a summertime card. I decided to cut out a piece of white cardstock as a background panel for these little guys. Originally I thought I'd put them right on the card, but then I thought that'd be fun to have a white panel, and that pattern paper could be the background, and I stamped Make a Wish from the stamp set onto that panel using that Raven Detail ink. I'm stamping Growing Old is mandatory, but growing up is optional. I thought that was a cute little sentiment. And then I'm also going to stamp the one last image from the set onto this, or into the inside of this card, and I'm using some Bundled Sage Distress Oxide ink. These are good for stamping, so I thought these matched the green in the pattern paper pretty nicely. And now I'll get ready to start assembling my entire card. I'm going to use some liquid glue to adhere down the white panel, and it's going high up on that card just for a little bit of visual appeal. And then I will use that same liquid glue to adhere my card panel down to my white card base. So this is just a heavyweight white cardstock, and that's taking up the whole front of that card. So it's the whole front of an A2 size card. And I did have a little bit of leftover piece of the pattern paper from when I cut down the other piece, and so I'll just stick that on the inside to add a little bit more cohesion. And then I'm going to cover each of my little my little guys with some foam tape. This is the Scotch foam tape. So I've cut down some pieces that will cover those up pretty nicely. Some of them are little, and then I'm going to start adhering all of those down to my card front. I got the little guy who's clearly eating his cupcake. He's going to blow out his candle, and his little buddies are coming in to wish him a happy birthday. I just thought this would be fun. It seems like birthday and thank you cards are the cards that I seem to need the most. So I'll stick the rest of those little guys down, and the little bunny tucks nicely behind my bear, so it looks like there is definitely some dimension with this card. I'm going to take another alcohol marker and just kind of color up the bottom there to make it look like they aren't floating, and then that's going to finish off this card. So if you liked this card, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and head back to the Brutus Monroe blog to take a look at what we've been working on. There's always plenty of inspiration there, and I will have that linked down below. So as always, thank you so much for stopping by.